And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And I want to say one thing to your children. I know some really great ice cream places around here. And Daddy owes you. Yeah? So talk to me afterwards.
Probably just a coincidence. I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be.
Welcome to the show. You were one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy here on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, and online all the time at westhesportsguy.com. Bookmark that site if you want to get my social media links, the podcast link. Leave a 5-star review if you like what you're listening to in all the various podcast platforms. You can get that link conveniently located for you at westhesportsguy.com. Also, with the NFL season coming right around the corner, you want to bookmark westhesportsguy.com if you want to get my preview for all 32 NFL teams for the upcoming season just around the corner. Make sure you bookmark westhesportsguy.com. You might be familiar with the name Michael Oher from the NFL as a former tackle, drafted first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens, also played for a time with the Carolina Panthers. Probably know him more from the movie The Blind Side, based off of the best-selling book of the same name by Michael Lewis. That book was telling the story of how the left tackle position became a prominent one in the NFL because of the likes of Lawrence Taylor and the devastating injury to Joe Theismann back in the 80s. But this book also told the story about Michael Oher and his upbringing, and also being helped by the Tuohy family and getting to the point in his life where he also became a successful college football player and got drafted in the first round in the NFL. Now, thanks in large part to the way the media has been portraying what Michael Oher now claims to be having duped into thinking he was adopted, and instead of it actually being a conservatorship, at this point in his life is now taking things to court, and not just in probate court, but also in the court of public opinion, by getting favorable coverage from the usual media outlets, saying that Michael Oher was definitely duped, and without really going into the facts of the case and the facts of the matter from their own words via books, and also from recent interviews of not too long ago where they've all outlined everybody was in the know. Everybody knew what was being done with Michael Oher's situation, and that he was never adopted, because at the time when it was being discussed, he was a legal adult at the age of 18, and thus he was being given guardianship by the Tuohy family and brought into a conservatorship, which, according to Michael Oher's own book, he knew what was being done with it and understood the ramifications of it, in that it was to benefit him in the long run. Now, with that being said, I am not going to get into a whole what is a conservatorship versus adoption and all that kind of legalese. I am not a lawyer, obviously. I am just a sports guy giving my opinion based off of the facts of the case. And the way the facts stand out right now, I have one main question that I need to put on the record right now. Due to the fact that Michael Oher himself in his own book said that he understood what it was being a conservatorship, understood that he was not actually adopted by the Tuohy family, and that he was not duped at all in any sense of the matter, I have to ask the obvious question right now from Michael Oher. Were you lying then when you wrote your book, or are you lying now? Because somebody's lying here. Now, I don't expect it to be admitted in the court of public opinion, or for somebody to make a press conference and admit to lying about all of this stuff, whether it be the Tuohy family or Michael Oher himself. I don't expect that. This is all going to be litigated in court, and then we will find out who is really telling the truth at that point in time. But as it stands right now, knowing the background that Michael Oher grew up in himself, a mother who was constantly addicted to crack cocaine, multiple siblings from multiple fathers, and imagining this as a kid, Michael Oher himself saying this as a kid of a very young age, imagine having to come home come to the door, realizing that it is locked, your mother is nowhere to be found, and now you are struggling with the point at that young age that Michael Oher says this happened, 9, 10, 11 years old, having this happen multiple times, where you are locked out of your own home, your mother's nowhere to be found, and now having to figure out where you were going to spend the night. Imagine that as a young kid, having to go through those types of day by day, wondering if you're going to be able to sleep in the same bed every single night. I can't fathom what that would be like for a young kid of any age to grow up in that kind of a living. And with that in mind, knowing the story of how he was taken in by the Tui family, they did not have to take him in by any stretch of the imagination, but they opened their home, they opened their hearts, they afforded Michael an opportunity to make something better of himself that a lot of kids, no matter if you're black, white, pink, purple, yellow, whatever your skin color is, a lot of kids in those similar types of situations would love to have that kind of an opportunity. And by all accounts, at the time when I first watched that movie, and I've watched that movie many times, I have not read the book myself, The Blind Side, but watching that movie, I could see what was being portrayed on the screen as Michael understood, even at that time, with the education very limited at his time in life at that point. He understood what was being afforded to him. He humbled himself. He understood that he was being given a great gift and an opportunity to better himself and to also better his own family. He has, like I said, multiple siblings. He, by all accounts, helped them as much as he possibly could his entire life. That's something to be commended for him. But the one thing that's even more interesting to me is that looking at what's happening now with the way Michael is handling it, especially publicly, saying all these horrible things about the Tui family themselves, which, if they're true, the truth will come out. The truth will have its day. But as it stands, like I said, with the facts currently presented, with everybody's own words, their own books, their own excerpts, everything laid out on the table as we see it right now, it's hard for me to believe that the Tui family actually was going to take advantage of this young man for their own benefit. And seeing how the main crux of the complaint from Michael Oher's perspective is that he did not get the majority of the money, or even any money he claims, from the royalties from the movie The Blind Side. As the facts currently state, they did not make a fortune off of that movie. They all got a lump sum, which was split evenly amongst the family members, Michael Oher included, and there is facts to back that up. But now all of a sudden, Michael Oher doesn't feel that was enough for him for the movie, considering now the movie is all about him, I. There's a lot of that. That story does have a big significant part of him in it, but it also shows that you do need assistance along the way at various points in your life. And just taking from the sports angle of this, every Hall of Fame speech from any sport, whether it be baseball, hockey, basketball, football especially, every Hall of Fame speech I have ever heard in my life, everybody gets up on that stage in front of that podium and they always tout those that help them along their journey. Imagine if Michael Oher, if he actually was a Hall of Fame type player, got up on that podium and refused to acknowledge anybody along the way that helped him accomplish the things that he did on a football field to get to that point in his life. Could you imagine anybody not saying anything to the contrary, to give anybody credit for helping them along their way? A high school coach, a tutor, their mom, their dad, their brothers, their sisters, their football coach, anybody. Could you imagine that? And that's what's so stark about this right now, being thrown out there in public, that this family did you wrong, when the evidence does not suggest that. It seems to me, just from my perspective, looking at all the facts presented, it seems to me that Michael Oher, you have definitely gone away from being humble. You now are either in desperate need of some type of money, You have another book coming out. Congratulations. All the best success to you on that. But you seem to either be in desperate need of more money for something that you already got money for, or you're now taking the angle of trying to rewrite your own history and profit off of that. This is not the right way to go about this, Michael. You do not need to go the route of Colin Kaepernick, who has an identity crisis in and of himself right now as we speak. But your identity is pretty solid in the fact that you were a good person your entire life. I still believe you are a good person. You've definitely humbled yourself at the worst possible times I could imagine anybody that's ever gone through that kind of a situation. You have definitely humbled yourself from what I have seen and the way you've conducted yourself. Going about it this way, in the kind of jaded, mean-spirited way that it seems from the outside perspective, this is not the way to be going about this. If they have truly wronged you, keep it in the court. Do not go public about this stuff. You shouldn't have gone this route with it, but you're taking advantage of the climate that we are currently living in, where everybody takes a side and they do not ask the basic questions. They don't even dig into the basic facts of the matter. They immediately take a side and run with it. I hope you change course as this continues to play itself out with the way that it's gone. But again, you need to stay humble and realize what was afforded to you and that you did not just do every one of these accomplishments on your own. You definitely had help along the way, and that's perfectly fine. Nobody expects you to do it on your own. And that's the beauty of humanity, really. We all sacrifice for each other, and we want everybody to have that same opportunity that you were afforded. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell below to get notified when all the latest videos are posted on this channel, whether it be at YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, or Odyssey. Bookmark WestonSportsGuy.com for all my social media links, that podcast link. Leave a 5-star review if you like what you're listening to on all the various podcast platforms. Make sure you click the link in the description as well to save some money on Coffee Brand Coffee. Use that promo code OneOnOneWest at checkout. Big sale happening right now at CoffeeBrandCoffee.com. Click the link in the description to save yourself some money. Thank you again for tuning in. I will see you next time.